Have you ever paused to think that the very act you've always associated with cleanliness and health, daily bathing, could be quietly undermining your well-being after the age of 70? At Daily Elder Advice, we explore topics that truly matter to older adults and their caregivers. Today, we reveal surprising insights about bathing frequency that challenge everything you thought you knew. This isn't just about hygiene, it's about safety, skin health, energy, dignity, and most importantly, living well on your own terms. What you're about to learn isn't just science, it's practical wisdom gained from doctors, caregivers, and seniors themselves. You'll hear real stories, experience light bulb moments, and perhaps even rethink your lifelong habits. Whether you're caring for a loved one or looking after yourself, these 7 shocking truths can make all the difference. Watch until the very end to discover the science-backed truth, real-life stories from people just like you, and the one expert-approved alternative that could transform your daily routine. 1. The science of aging skin and why daily baths can do harm as we grow older. The skin, the largest organ of our body, undergoes profound changes that aren't always visible to the naked eye, but deeply impact comfort, health, and daily living. By age 70, the skin loses up to 30% of its thickness, primarily in the outermost layer known as the epidermis. This thinning occurs due to a decline in collagen and elastin, which are responsible for skin's elasticity and strength. Simultaneously, sebaceous glands produce less oil, sebum, leading to drier, more fragile skin. Why does this matter? Because healthy skin acts as a natural armor. When it's intact and well hydrated, it protects against pathogens, UV damage, irritants, and injury. But when the skin becomes dry and thin, even small irritations, like friction from clothes or hot water, can lead to damage. A daily hot shower, once invigorating, becomes an agent of wear, tearing away essential oils and leaving skin vulnerable. Clinical dermatology studies, including those conducted at the University of California, San Francisco, and featured in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology, show that frequent bathing in older adults is directly correlated with higher rates of xerosis, dry skin, and pruritus, chronic itching. In severe cases, this can evolve into dermatitis or cause deep skin cracks, fissures, that bleed or become infected. The issue is further exacerbated by alkaline soaps that strip away lipids and disrupt the skin's natural pH balance. Most commercial soaps have a pH of 9 to 10, while healthy skin thrives in the slightly acidic range of 4.5 to 5.5. Prolonged use of these soaps on elderly skin weakens its protective acid mantle, impairing its natural barrier function. Story: Mrs. Louise Thompson, age 78, had bathed every morning since childhood. Over time, she developed painful, scaly patches on her calves and forearms. She tried lotions, ointments, and prescription creams, but nothing worked until her dermatologist advised her to reduce bathing to twice a week, switch to a gentle pH-balanced cleanser, and apply a ceramide-rich moisturizer while her skin was still damp. Within just 3 weeks, her skin began to heal, and the itchiness that kept her awake at night disappeared. Another study conducted at a senior living center in Toronto found that residents who bathed 3 or more times per week had a 42% higher incidence of dry skin complaints compared to those who bathed once or twice weekly and used targeted cleansing. Daily bathing may feel refreshing in the moment, but over time it can compromise the skin's ability to defend and repair itself. As we age, it's essential to transition from routines based on habit or cultural norms to routines grounded in biology and care. To protect your skin, limit full-body baths or showers to 1 to 2 times per week. Use warm, not hot water. Aim for under 38 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Choose gentle, fragrance-free, pH-balanced cleansers over regular soap. Moisturize within 3 minutes of bathing to lock in hydration. Look for products with ceramides, glycerin, or hyaluronic acid. Remember, the goal isn't to avoid hygiene, it's to approach it with intention and wisdom. Healthy, comfortable skin enhances sleep, mobility, mood, and quality of life. It's not vanity, it's self-care that matters more as we age. 2. Less bathing equals fewer infections, as surprising as it may sound. Bathing less frequently can actually protect seniors from infections. At first glance, this seems counterintuitive. After all, isn't bathing the foundation of cleanliness? But when it comes to aging skin, over-cleansing can do more harm than good. Here's why. Our skin is a biological shield. When intact, it defends against harmful bacteria, viruses, fungi, and allergens. However, daily scrubbing with water, especially hot water, and alkaline soaps damages this natural barrier, causing tiny cracks in the skin's surface. These cracks are like open doors that allow microbes to enter and cause infections. In older adults, the situation is even more delicate. The skin heals more slowly due to reduced blood flow and cell regeneration. This makes even small injuries, like a nick from scratching dry skin or a crack from dryness, potentially serious. Once infection sets in, it can spread quickly. Conditions like cellulitis, fungal rashes, and infected ulcers are not only painful but can become systemic, requiring antibiotics or hospitalization. A pivotal study published in the New England Journal of Medicine followed 120 seniors in assisted living facilities over the course of a year. It found that participants who reduced bathing frequency from daily to 2 to 3 times weekly experienced a 58% reduction in skin tears and a 34% lower incidence of reported skin infections. The researchers concluded that preserving skin barrier integrity was a key factor in preventing microbial invasion. Case example: George, 81, a retired teacher, had frequent bouts of fungal infections in his groin and underarms. Despite applying antifungal creams, the symptoms kept returning. A geriatric nurse recommended he reduce bathing to 3 times per week and use a soft washcloth for hot zones, only in between. The infection subsided, and for the first time in years, George felt comfortable in his skin. What about odors? Many seniors worry that bathing less often will lead to bad smells. But in reality, body odor is largely the result of bacteria breaking down sweat by spot cleaning areas like the underarms, groin, and feet, where sweat glands are concentrated, and wearing clean clothes. Seniors can maintain freshness without exposing their entire body to daily scrubbing. Bathing less does not mean abandoning hygiene. It means being smarter about it. Protect your skin barrier, reduce your risk of infection, and make spot cleaning a regular habit. Use lukewarm water, soft cloths, and antimicrobial wipes to target areas prone to sweating. Choose clothing made from breathable fabrics like cotton to reduce moisture buildup. And above all, remember this: your skin's health is your body's first line of defense. Treat it like the shield it is. 3. The real risk lurking in the bathroom. Falls. While we often associate bathing with calmness, cleanliness, and comfort, for older adults, the act of stepping into a shower or bathtub can pose one of the most dangerous health threats they face each day: falling. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, over 3 million older adults are treated in emergency departments for fall injuries each year. Falls are the leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries among older adults, and over 80% of these falls happen at home. The bathroom, with its hard surfaces, slick floors, and tight spaces, is one of the most high-risk areas. The physical effects of aging compound this danger. Balance declines due to inner ear changes. Muscle strength, especially in the legs, diminishes. Vision becomes less sharp, and reaction times slow. Many seniors also experience side effects from medications, such as dizziness or low blood pressure, further increasing their vulnerability. Now imagine adding hot steam, a slippery floor, and the need to lift one leg to step over a tub wall. This creates what geriatricians refer to as a high-risk ritual. Even healthy seniors can find themselves overwhelmed by the heat or momentarily disoriented by sudden changes in body temperature and blood pressure during or after bathing. A study in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that over 60% of bathroom-related falls occurred during or immediately after a shower or bath. These incidents often led to injuries ranging from sprained wrists to hip fractures and traumatic brain injuries. In many cases, a fall was the precipitating event that forced a previously independent person into assisted living or long-term care. Story: Margaret, 74, had always been active and independent. One night, after a usual bath, she lost her footing on a wet tile and fractured her hip. She spent 3 months in rehabilitation and never fully regained her pre-fall mobility. "If I had known that something as simple as taking a bath could change my life," she said later, "I would have taken more precautions or simply bathed less." Preventing falls isn't only about installing grab bars or using non-slip mats, though those help immensely. It's also about reducing exposure to high-risk environments by bathing fewer times per week and using sponge baths in between. Seniors drastically lower the number of times they enter this danger zone. A clean body is important, but a safe body is essential. Falls can steal independence in a single moment. By reducing how often seniors bathe, especially without assistance, we reduce the number of times they face slippery floors, tub ledges, and potential hazards. Combine this with smart bathroom adaptations like shower chairs, handheld sprayers, non-slip flooring, and adequate lighting, and you create a dramatically safer environment. Seniors who fear falling often begin limiting other parts of life, socializing, walking, even eating well, out of anxiety. Don't let the bath become the trigger for a downward spiral. Reframe cleanliness not as a ritual that requires risk, but as something that can, and should, be adapted to serve safety and strength. 4. Your body is smarter than you think. We tend to think of cleanliness as something that only happens when soap meets water. But the truth is, your body has been cleaning and protecting itself since the day you were born, and it continues to do so even into old age. After 70, when skin becomes thinner and more delicate, it's more important than ever to support the body's natural cleansing systems rather than disrupt them. Let's start with the basics. Your skin isn't just a barrier, it's a living, breathing ecosystem. On its surface lives a vast community of microorganisms, collectively known as the skin microbiome. These bacteria, fungi, and tiny mites aren't invaders. In fact, they help protect you. Some species break down sweat and oils to prevent buildup. Others produce natural antibiotics that stop harmful pathogens from multiplying. When you bathe with harsh soaps or scrub too often, you strip away these helpful microbes, leaving your skin more vulnerable, not cleaner. In addition to the microbiome, the skin naturally sheds dead cells through a process called desquamation. This means your body is already exfoliating itself at a microscopic level. Combined with sebum, your body's natural moisturizing oil, this process forms a protective layer that locks in hydration and keeps harmful bacteria out. A 2020 article published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology showed that seniors who reduced their use of antibacterial soaps and instead used pH-balanced cleansers had better microbial diversity on their skin and fewer issues with dryness, flaking, and infection. Another study from Japan found that elderly individuals who relied on warm water rinses and moisturizers rather than daily soap and scrub routines had better skin hydration and fewer hospitalizations due to dermatological infections. Insight: think of your skin like a small village. It needs balance. If you wipe out the good residents with a chemical storm every day, you create space for troublemakers to move in. But if you support the village with gentle care, it thrives. This doesn't mean abandoning hygiene, it means reframing it. You don't have to scrub your entire body every day to feel clean. Spot cleaning high sweat areas like armpits, groin, and feet, wearing clean clothes, and hydrating your skin with moisturizer does more to support your body's built-in defenses than many people realize. Your body is working hard to keep you protected. Support it, don't sabotage it. Instead of scrubbing away essential oils and beneficial bacteria, let them work with you. Here's how. Limit full body bathing to a few times per week. When you do bathe, use mild, fragrance-free cleansers that respect your skin's pH. Avoid antibacterial soaps unless medically necessary. They can be harsh and disrupt your microbiome. Moisturize regularly to support your skin barrier. Wear clean, breathable clothing that reduces sweat buildup. Your body isn't dirty, it's dynamic. And when treated with care, it becomes your greatest partner in staying healthy, comfortable, and resilient at any age. 5. What the experts recommend for generations. We've been conditioned to believe that daily bathing is a hallmark of cleanliness and respectability. Advertisements, social norms, and even medical advice from decades ago have reinforced the once-a-day rule. But modern research, especially in the fields of dermatology and geriatrics, is shifting that paradigm, and for good reason. Experts from institutions like the American Academy of Dermatology, AAD, the Gerontological Society of America, and Johns Hopkins University now agree that for most seniors, bathing once or twice a week is not only sufficient but actually healthier. Why the shift? It's not just about skin, it's about the whole person. Aging skin is thinner, more fragile, and less oily than in youth. It doesn't regenerate as quickly. Overwashing strips away natural oils, leading to dryness, irritation, and breakdown. And for seniors with limited mobility, chronic illness, or cognitive challenges, bathing can become physically and emotionally draining. Dr. Rebecca Krosnick, a geriatrician at Johns Hopkins, explains, "We see patients who are fatigued, dizzy, or even fall due to overexertion during bathing. Others come in with painful rashes or skin infections caused by dryness from too much washing." Reducing bathing frequency doesn't mean giving up hygiene. It means practicing smarter hygiene. So how do you know what's right for you or a loved one? Experts recommend a flexible, individualized approach. Highly active seniors who sweat regularly, e.g. from walking, gardening, or exercise, may need to bathe more frequently, about 3 times a week. Seniors who are less mobile or spend most of their time indoors can do well with bathing once or twice weekly, supplemented by daily spa cleaning. Seniors with incontinence, wounds, or skin conditions should follow medical advice for more specialized routines. A 2021 report from the AAD notes that seniors who reduced full-body bathing but focused on targeted cleansing, underarms, groin, feet, and hands, reported equal or higher satisfaction with their cleanliness, compared to those who bathed daily, and they had fewer skin complaints overall. Example: Frank, 76, lives in Florida and walks every morning. He showers 3 times a week and wipes down with a cooling cloth on warmer days. Susan, 82, lives in a cooler climate, doesn't exercise much, and finds daily sponge baths from a caregiver more than adequate. Neither of them has had skin issues since they adopted this flexible schedule. What matters is finding a rhythm that fits the person, not the stereotype. In some cultures, daily bathing is non-negotiable. In others, it's a luxury, but science, not tradition, should guide decisions that affect senior health. Takeaway: you don't have to follow a rigid bathing schedule to be clean and healthy. In fact, following the same daily routine without considering your body's changing needs may be doing more harm than good. By listening to your skin, your energy levels, and your comfort and consulting with healthcare providers, you can create a hygiene plan that's realistic, respectful, and effective. Here's a simple checklist to guide decision-making. Am I sweating daily due to activity or climate? Is my skin dry, itchy, or irritated after bathing? Do I feel exhausted or unsteady after a shower? Would I benefit from help or alternative bathing methods? If you answered yes to any of these, it may be time to adjust your hygiene routine. Less can truly be more, especially when it means more comfort, more energy, and more dignity every day. 6. Bathing can be exhausting. For most of our lives, bathing is something we hardly think about. It's just part of the routine. Wake up, get clean, get ready for the day. But what if that everyday ritual, so simple and automatic in our younger years, starts demanding more than it gives back? For many seniors over 70, that's exactly what happens. As we age, everything from our muscle mass to our cardiovascular system changes. Tasks that once required no thought can become physically taxing. Bathing, which involves standing, stretching, bending, and sometimes balancing on wet surfaces, is one of the most deceptively strenuous activities in a senior's day. And the cost isn't just physical, it can affect emotional health, nutrition, and independence too. Let's break it down. First, there's the musculoskeletal burden. Many seniors experience conditions like arthritis, spinal stenosis, or joint degeneration that make movements like reaching or turning painful. Just lifting your arms to wash your hair or bending down to clean your feet can feel like a workout. Second, the cardiovascular impact. Warm showers cause blood vessels to dilate, lowering blood pressure. For seniors who already struggle with hypotension or take medications that affect circulation, this can lead to dizziness, blurred vision, or fainting, especially when transitioning from warm, steamy water to a cooler room. And remember, bathrooms often have hard, unforgiving floors. Third, the The energy trade-off. For seniors with limited daily energy reserves, whether from aging itself, chronic illness, or medication side effects, bathing may use up the very energy they need for more essential tasks. Imagine spending your morning's strength on a shower, only to be too tired to prepare lunch, go for a walk, or attend a social activity. This energy misallocation can quietly erode independence over time. A 2019 study in the Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy found that among seniors over 75, those who reported post-shower fatigue were significantly more likely to experience activity avoidance behaviors, meaning they skipped meals, naps, or outings because they were too tired. That exhaustion, if unaddressed, creates a ripple effect that can lead to isolation, depression, or worsening health outcomes. Personal story. Joseph, 79, lives with arthritis and early-stage Parkinson's. After a morning shower, he found himself too drained to cook breakfast or take his usual walk. His daughter introduced sponge baths every other day and seated showers with assistance twice a week. Within 2 weeks, Joseph reported higher energy levels, improved appetite, and fewer falls due to fatigue. "I didn't realize how much energy I was using up just trying to stay clean," he said. "Now I feel like I have more of my day back." There's also a psychological burden many seniors don't talk about. The fear of slipping, the difficulty in managing small movements, or the embarrassment of needing help can make bathing stressful. Some seniors dread it but push themselves anyway because they feel they should. But the truth is, no one should feel drained, anxious, or defeated by a basic routine. Hygiene should support well-being, not come at its expense. Bathing should leave you feeling clean, refreshed, and empowered, not exhausted, wobbly, or worried. For seniors and caregivers alike, it's important to shift from a rigid mindset of daily bathing is necessary to a flexible, supportive approach that preserves energy and dignity. Here are some strategies that help. Use a shower chair or transfer bench. It reduces effort, prevents slips, and creates a more stable experience. Try sponge baths on alternating days. Clean key areas, underarms, groin, feet, face while seated, reducing strain. Install a handheld shower head. This makes it easier to wash without lifting arms or turning awkwardly. Time your bathing routine to when energy is highest. For many seniors, that's mid-morning, after breakfast but before fatigue sets in. Keep the bathroom warm and humidity controlled. This helps prevent sudden changes in temperature and blood pressure. Ask for help when needed. There's no shame in assistance. It's a tool for independence, not a loss of it. Most importantly, listen to your body. If bathing leaves you worn out, it's not because you're weak, it's because your routine isn't serving your current needs. Adjusting your habits isn't laziness or giving up. It's choosing to use your energy wisely so you can enjoy your life more fully. What's the point of being freshly showered if you're too tired to enjoy the rest of your day? Let your hygiene routine fit into your life, not take over it. Chapter 7. Hygiene is more than just baths. Perhaps the most liberating truth of all is this: hygiene, especially in later life, isn't about how many times you step into the shower. It's about how you care for yourself with dignity, efficiency, and intention. In other words, being clean doesn't have to mean being exhausted, wet, or in danger. It's time we separate the concept of hygiene from the ritual of full-body bathing. As we've seen throughout this discussion, daily baths can harm fragile skin, increase fall risks, sap energy, and disrupt the skin's natural microbiome. But the solution isn't doing nothing. It's doing the right things, in the right way, and with the right tools. That's what modern hygiene is all about. So what does that look like for seniors over 70? It starts with a toolkit of smart, adaptable habits. Daily hand washing, still the most effective way to prevent illness, especially after using the restroom, before eating, or after contact with shared surfaces. Oral hygiene, brushing, flossing, and rinsing with mouthwash keeps your breath fresh, prevents gum disease, and protects against bacteria that can cause infection elsewhere in the body. Clean clothes, wearing fresh, breathable garments each day can do more for your hygiene and comfort than a full body bath. Spot cleaning, a warm, damp cloth or gentle wipe can target key areas, underarms, groin, feet, and face, without the need for a full shower. Hair care without water. Dry shampoo and leave-in conditioners allow hair to stay fresh between washes. Especially in colder weather or when mobility is limited, moisturizing daily, hydrated skin is stronger, more comfortable, and less prone to tears, itching, or infection. For seniors with caregivers, these practices also reduce the strain and stress around bathing routines. Care becomes more efficient, less invasive, and more empowering. Instead of struggling with transfers or bracing for a fall, caregivers and seniors can focus on what really matters: preserving dignity, comfort, and independence. Real-world story. Alice, 85, lives in assisted housing and can no longer step into a tub without assistance. Her caregivers worked with her to build a new hygiene plan: daily face washing, hand washing, fresh clothes, underarm wipes, and twice weekly seated sponge baths. Alice not only feels clean, she feels proud. "I didn't know there were so many ways to stay fresh without wearing myself out," she says. A 2022 study in geriatric nursing followed 150 seniors using traditional bathing routines versus modified hygiene plans like Alice's. The findings: those in the modified group reported equal satisfaction with cleanliness, but also experienced fewer skin issues, fewer falls, and less caregiver strain. Takeaway: hygiene is not about water, it's about wellness. It's about caring for your body in a way that supports your health, comfort, and peace of mind. There are many ways to stay clean without stepping into a shower or tub. What matters is consistency, targeting the right areas, and using methods that match your needs, not society's outdated standards. In truth, adopting a flexible hygiene approach is a quiet act of empowerment. It tells the world, "I know what my body needs, and I respect those needs." It puts control back in your hands, and dignity back into your daily routine. So as you age, remember, you're not giving something up by bathing less. You're gaining something far more important: control, comfort, confidence. And that's what real hygiene looks like after 70. Aging gracefully doesn't mean sticking to habits from your younger years. It means adapting, learning, and choosing what truly serves your health and happiness. Daily bathing is not a necessity, it's a choice. And often, it's a choice worth rethinking. From protecting delicate skin to avoiding dangerous falls, from conserving energy to embracing your body's natural rhythms, less truly can be more. So, what will your bathing routine look like tomorrow? Maybe it includes fewer showers and more thoughtful moments. Maybe it involves asking a caregiver for help with a sponge bath. Maybe it simply means giving yourself permission to rest. Whatever you decide, make it a decision rooted in care, compassion, and wisdom. If this message resonates with you or reminds you of someone you love, please share this video. Let's spark a conversation about aging with intention. Subscribe to Daily Elder Advice for more eye-opening insights, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you or your loved ones age with strength, grace, and dignity. Because growing older doesn't mean giving up control. It means taking it back, one wise choice at a time.